Ever wondered how a single social media post can skyrocket a product's sales overnight? Welcome to today's episode where we'll delve into the world of influencer marketing, the trend that's rewriting the rules of digital advertising. Stick with us as we reveal how leveraging the power of social media influencers can elevate your brand and catapult your e-commerce success. Welcome to eComFiles. We started this video podcast to help e-commerce store owners like you to be successful and reach financial independence, but most importantly, build momentum and have an impact without burning out on the way. We're going to cover everything from marketing, operations, and beyond. Let's get started today by talking about influencer marketing. Sebastian, what is influencer marketing?
Influencer marketing, yes. Influencer marketing is a type of social media marketing. It involves getting endorsements. It involves getting other people to talk about you, to talk about how they like your products. Mm-hmm. And really, it's closely related to affiliate marketing that we talked about in the last episode. But generally, you talk about influencer marketing if you are going out and finding somebody that has a large audience already, a large following, and then tell them to, talk about your product, advertise your product, so to speak. And there's really no good definition for influencers out there. Anybody who has a following that fits your target audience is a good influencer to target there.
Yes. Yeah.
And the big difference maybe to affiliate marketing is that in affiliate marketing, you pay after the fact. You pay once you get a customer. In influencer marketing, you generally pay upfront. You pay a sponsorship fee. Like if you watch YouTube, you often find people talk about this video was sponsored by company X.
Yes.
This is what influencer marketing looks like. So company X reached out to that YouTube creator and paid them some money, and for that creator is now mentioning their product or that company in their video.
Absolutely. In fact, I like to even look at it even more specific than that. I like to say it's almost like the halo effect. Like it's like you get that halo effect with your brand when it's almost like, you know, in modern marketing, there has always been a thing called product placement, right? And so you get a halo effect when you connect your brand to a certain type of celebrity or actor or musician, right?
Yes.
So it's a great way to bring a spotlight to your brand, right?
And that's where influencer marketing originally started, where you went after celebrities.
That's
but the line of what a celebrity is nowadays is so blurred that, it's hard to say who is a celebrity and who isn't. But still, you do get an immediate trust boost.
Yes.
If somebody who has a big audience is talking about your product to their audience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the key word you said there was trust, because what happens is where things are now with social media, it's all about, you know, and I know in television, they have something called a Q score, right? And the Q score is about the ability for a personality, right? Or a personal brand to be able to captivate their audience, where they want to stick around and they want to listen, that influence they have over them, right? I think the difference with social media, and I'm sure you have some ideas around this, is you can actually measure and track as data driven. So there are different tiers. Like I know I've seen different groups that we go after that are nano influencers that are from 1,000 to 10,000. There are those that are known as micro influencers that are like 10,000 to 50,000, and then mid-tier, 50,000 to 500,000. Macro level influencers, 500,000 to 1 million, and then you have the mega influencers, like you see, like the Kim K's or the Will Smiths. They're 1 million plus, right? And so
those numbers you're mentioning there, I assume they're a following.
Yes, followers. Absolutely.
The size of the following, the number of people that follow that influencer, which is one of those measurements that you can use to find your perfect influencer. But when you go after those numbers, you need to be careful that that is actually relevant, because there are a lot of influencers that have, or a lot of people that have a large following, but not an active following. So somebody might have 3 million subscribers, but any single video gets only 300 views.
Absolutely right. Engagement. Those are one of the metrics. These is one of the social metrics that people need to look at is what's their engagement? You know, what's their post to engagement ratio? How many comments are they getting? How many likes are they getting? How many shares are they getting? But most importantly, like you said, you know, that audience is not just looking at the personality, but then you got to look at that personality, or that brand, or that influencer's audience. Do they resonate with, or do they reflect your audience? Do they fit, and do they align with your audience? And then
absolutely,
you got to kind of do a little bit extra homework there, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's key. Another thing too, Sebastian, that's intriguing too, and I'm sure you can speak to this too, is the importance of being able to discern whether a lot of they found this with Twitter, of course, and even Instagram, you know, how many of those users are actually people. They're not bots, right? That's a
very good point. Very good point. Which people that stick around and watch a 5-minute or longer video are unlikely to be bots.
Right.
But it still can happen. Like video scraping has started. So you might have bots in your viewership. And that's really hard to measure. How many of those subscribers, how many of those active viewers are real people? And that's where it comes to, at some point you need to try and see what the impact is. And then it's important that you set up your campaign correctly so that you can measure. And if you look at big influencer examples out there, you often find them not only talking about the product. Here are these nice stainless steel wine glasses that I found, and they are so beautiful, whatever you want them to say. But then there's also an offer attached to it. If you go to this URL, you can get 10% off today. The first 100 viewers will get it for a half price off, or something like that. And the point of this offer is not necessarily to boost the sale, but to be able to measure the impact that your campaign with that influencer had.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is absolutely key at what you just said there. I think being able to attach offers, but then also allowing creativity for the influencer. Like one of the things that you said that was very important there, as far as the authenticity of their users, is, you know, video versus, you know, certain other platforms like Twitter or Instagram. I tend to really like YouTube, for example. Like one of the big influencers everyone probably knows is Mr. Beast, right? He has a huge amount of influence in the marketplace, but his platform is primarily on YouTube. So what we find there is there's a higher level of trust for influencers that are on platforms like video based, that are YouTube based, than other platforms. So if you have viewers that are willing to stick around longer, it's almost like a smaller scale versus TV. A different sample is like almost a comparable sample to TV, but even I think more intimate, because you have the social element where people can leave comments and they can interact. So you can see how a person like Mr. Beast, how he'll incorporate the people that are his sponsors, or he's working with, that he's being an influencer for. He'll incorporate them in his creative, in his content, but it's not in a way where it's, hey, get 10% here or whatever. But the most effective is when he actually incorporates it in his skits, or you'll have something fun. Like, for example, if he's working with a resume company, he'll maybe actually call a person and say, hey, I'm just calling here, I want to hire you. And it's like a funny thing, is part of the skits, part of what he does, because they allow that freedom, right?
Yes, and that's important, that you allow that creativity. Don't stifle your influencers' creativity, but you also want to watch out for how they place products. So go and watch prior episodes that they have done.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of influencers out there, they do their thing, they deliver the value of their episode, and then at the end, oh, by the way, this episode was sponsored by, and at that point, everybody leaves. So you need to get your influencer to incorporate you in the middle of the story.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that you want to not only look at the placement of where they have you positioned, but another thing, like you said too, is we allow creativity, but make sure that you have brand guidelines. You have things in place where they don't go overboard, where it damages your brand, right? You allow creativity, but yeah, you want to also have, guidelines where you protect your brand. Say, hey, you can have as much freedom as you want, but we want our logo to be this way, right? Or we want
yes.
So
yes.
there's certain things.
And that's kind of important anyway. If you have a brand, you need to have brand guidelines that you can show people you're working with.
Absolutely. In fact, I want to just share really just a quick example. One of my clients, and this was, I'm not going to use names, of course, but one of my clients, one of my favorite campaigns that we did when we used influencer marketing, Sebastian, is where actually it was in a clothing niche, and so it was basically the head wraps. And what we did was we looked at the brand, we looked at the audience that would resonate most with them, and we found influencers that were more likely to be able to resonate with their story, but tell their story more authentically and connect with the audience. And automatically we looked in the music space. We looked specifically in hip hop because these were do-rags. And I was like, hey, look, you guys are out here trying to get your brand out there. You guys have a great product, but your audience is in the hip hop space. I was like, why aren't you connecting with influencers in that space, specifically musicians? And so when they actually started to do that and focus on that, it was powerful because the first campaign they did, it basically blew up. And they got a chance to tell their story in an organic and authentic way that connected with the culture that they're connected with. But then, in essence, that's what you call an affinity campaign, right? But then what we also did too was build a relation, the collaboration. They got a chance to do cross-branding, a collaboration as far as with their products. And so there's opportunities there too, right, Sebastian?
Yes. If I remember right, I believe you said that before, that when they started looking at influencers, they actually found influencers that were using their product already.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
If you can find an influencer like that makes it even more powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely right. The influencer that we ended up landing on was already using their do-rags. They're already a very well-known name and they only use their product. And we're like, hey, this is a no-brainer, right? So that's part of the importance of not only knowing your audience, but also social listening,
Yes.
There's opportunities all the time if you're paying attention to your marketplace.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And then again, we talked about branding guidelines, but then the importance of having those hashtags and certain keywords that go along with your brand, getting those things done right the first time, because now when you go to search for your brand, other people will use your hashtags. They will follow along your lead, right? Because
you might even get influencers for free there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's the opportunity too. I'm sure there's those who are out there probably looking at influencer marketing maybe, and they might say, hey, Sebastian, Blamah, this sounds great, but it sounds like it get kind of expensive, right? How much is it going to cost up front? I like the idea of affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing, okay, is paid for performance, but this is a little bit different. Well, there are pros and cons here, but there are other ways you can do it where you can kind of get a taste test, where you can maybe do a small campaign and it's not a full scale campaign with smaller influencers to see how it resonates with their audience or what they can come up with. Right?
Yes.
Or to see which influencers, maybe you choose 4 or 5, you have them do a small campaign, maybe they share an offer or a deal or, some things we talked about, Sebastian. Yes, and then you see which one has the best results, right?
Yeah. But the important point there is if you're going for small influencers, you need to go for a handful of them.
Yeah.
Don't put all your
your
money on one of them because you don't know that person, you don't know their audience, you don't know how well that audience actually jives with your product. That are all guesses. And
That's right.
you probably can get pretty close with your guess, but in the end, you need to try a few.
Yeah, try.
And once you have something that's working, then you can start reaching out to bigger influencers.
Absolutely. Yep, totally agree. Yeah, so that's awesome. Yeah, so Sebastian, I mean, hopefully our audience you guys got a lot of value as far as from this episode. You know, I think some of the key things that we mentioned here today was the importance of, obviously, I think this always goes back to what we always talk about: know your audience, right? Know your audience.
Yes.
That's the key.
Absolutely.
Right. Then understand your brand. You know, what do you represent? You know, and how do your values connect with your audience as far as your outreach? Finding influencers that are already potentially using your products or that's already part of their lifestyle, so it's more authentic.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right. And then using different metrics as far as, even though this is a branding is a process that some people may look at like, how do you measure? How do you track? There are ways that you can measure and track. You know, finding a small handful of micro influencers and seeing what results and tracking what the results are, having special offers, maybe a specific landing page for a specific influencer, right? Something like that. Or
just
like we have to
absolutely.
Right?
Not maybe. Absolutely.
Yes.
You need to have a specific landing page for each influencer you're working with.
Yeah, for tracking sake. So yeah, those are just a couple of things. So guys, thanks again for showing up. We hope you found the information today valuable. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. If you want to see more content like this, like always, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Sebastian, do you have any last words?
Well, as usual, know your audience, but we also added a new term today: social listening.
Yes.
Be out there. Listen to what's going on. Who is talking about your brand? Who is wearing your products or using your products? Right. But most importantly, know your audience. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for stopping by. See you all next week.